Hey, what's up everybody? Thanks for tuning back into another video. We're going to get into the nitty gritty on this one. This one's going to be really comprehensive. We're going to talk about, this has been a highly requested one, then we're going to talk about the PT feeder settings. I just pretty much overhauled my feeder settings, to be, more conservative, get into better buys. I've talked, in the past about going in the longer term indicators. And then I also have some different buying strategies for a more bullish market towards the end of towards the bullish market condition settings. So that'll be interesting. I actually would love to get your guys' comments and thoughts, both in the YouTube comments and in our Discord. We have some really, really smart people making some really smart PT feeder scripts in our Discord. So join that. The link is in the description and you can kind of ask them questions. Just like, I'm asking them questions because, some of them are making some really complex feeder scripts with stuff like the footers and the pair groupings and all of that stuff. These settings that I go over are, I don't want to say that they're super basic, but there's a lot more you can do with feeder. And so that's something, in some of my videos, some of my settings, I'll release, more complex ones. But this one here today is we're going to talk about how it kind of intertwines with Defender. And I want to go over a couple different cases that I've had with Defender and sort of the reason why I'm changing my feeder settings because of what has happened, right? Like, getting into a bad buy while you're defending a coin can ultimately, obviously getting into a bad buy is a bad situation. So I wanted to be a little more conservative on the buying side because when I started with Defender, it was, I was much more aggressive because I was trying to cycle through the rounds. I was trying to kind of get an idea of how, what's the best strategy here. So this is by no means the best strategy with this app settings folder that I have here, but I'm getting somewhere, right? And, like I said, love to get your guys' thoughts. So what we're looking at here on this side of the screen is Bitcoin has, fallen 1.4% or so. The altcoins tend to bleed a bit more. So keep that in mind when Bitcoin does tend to fall. The altcoins tend to fall a little bit harder. It's to be expected. One way we can protect ourselves from that is using the market conditions folder. Another way is to use Tether or TUSD, because then you have one less variable. You're not worried about the base currency rising and falling. You're only worried about the currency that you're trading rising and falling. So if you're using Tether or TUSD, you buy, Cardano with it. If Cardano goes up, you win. Cardano goes down, you lose. I like to trade Tether or TUSD pairs a lot of the times in a bull market because you just squeeze out more profit in a trade. So, keep that in mind. The settings I'm running right now are BTC because this is, where some of my bags are being held. Keep that in mind. We're just going to kind of dig right into it. So let's actually move this over. Let's go to Profit Trailer Monitor and you can see stuff that's going on here. So one thing I want to go over first is the enabled coins only. I use literally all the coins I'm holding are these coins right here in enabled coins only. That's what I'm trading in Profit Trailer because I don't want to run out of balance. And this is kind of my test account. So I'm going to leave these new settings running on here. I'm going to probably liquidate all of the holdings and then literally just let these new settings run for a day or two. And then I'll make an update video, but I don't want Profit Trailer to be buying other coins while I'm defending these coins because I don't want it to run out of balance. You got to remember about the DCA strategies. You got to remember about, big things happening like Dash. I had a big bag of Dash and it can't DCA because I have too much, other coins, right? Or I didn't have enough balance. And that's a big problem, in any case, right? With or without Defender, you need balance to help protect your bags, and with a DCA strategy. So, let's continue on. So I like to use only the enabled coins that I'm trading. Okay, so this is where things have changed quite significantly. This is important. So I'm going to close Defender, or at least minimize it, and go into the charts here and give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about. So what I changed here on the indicators is I changed them all to the 1800 mark, and that is a 30-minute candle period. The reason I changed that is because it seems to me like there's more data points when you have a longer candle. And that's a good thing to me because it gets me in better buys from what I've been seeing. Now, it is a bit slower. There's less buys, so it's less frequent. And you may be sitting there thinking like, why am I waiting? Like, why isn't Profit Trailer buying anything? Or especially if you're using Defender and you're just sitting there and your status is waiting for buy. You may be sitting there a bit longer, but rest assured, you're hopefully getting into a better trade with sort of more data points, right? If we go down and we look at the 5-minute candles, we can see that there is way more buying happening, but you can also see that in certain situations, you're buying on a downtrend far too often, and you end up in sort of bad buying situations. So to me, even in this area, you end up buying and maybe you don't ever get out of that bag and you sit on it for a while. So to me, I wanted to increase my indicators so that way, I could kind of get better buys. And so all of my indicators that I'm using currently are going to be running on the 30-minute candles, and I've been having pretty good results with that. So continuing on down, I changed a couple things. I'm going to be using the stochastic quite often in this app settings folder. So these are my defaults. Using EMA gain, using, from -1 to -5, RSI from 40, stochastic below 27. That's all pretty common stuff. Let's see, DCA. This is where, some stuff changed pretty heavily. And this is my sort of new DCA buying strategy. Let's get into it. So stochastic. We're going to be using, this is the stochastic indicator on the bottom. This is the RSI. And then for DCA, I'm using the low BB. So the low BB is from 0 to 15. Let's see what I'm using. So right now it's on 0 to 20. So what I can do is change that. Just give me a second here. 0 to -15. And we can see how the buys will be adjusted. Not very much. So then the stochastic, anything below 20. So this bottom line here is 20. And this is pretty common if you are, come on, what is going on? I don't understand why this is so slow when I'm filming. It's a brand new computer too. So anything below this green line is where we will be buying on the stochastic. And then on the RSI, anything below this 35 mark, roughly, we will be buying here as well. And obviously it's going to go extra slow to make this extra painful. Let's see. There we go. Finally. So anything below this line we'll be buying. And so we can kind of eyeball it and see exactly where PT would be buying. So look at that. It would be buying right in here because it's below the 35 and it's below the 20 line. So we'd be buying right in there. Same thing is true for up in this situations. All of these situations we'd probably be buying, and we would have to wait and see, for the profit, what's going to happen next. So keep that in mind. What really changed for me on this DCA stuff is I'm using the same DCA buying trigger. The way I look at this is if you are buying at your DCA trigger is at -1 and you have 100% rebuy, every time your DCA buy trigger is triggered, it's going to bring you back up to -0.5, assuming you buy directly at -1. And that's why I was using Anderson for a while, because this was exactly true every time. Every time a DCA buy trigger was triggered, my bag value went from -1 to -0.5. Now, that's great, but Anderson isn't a smart indicator at all. Anderson just relies on the price action of your bag. It's not a leading or lagging indicator. It doesn't do anything for you, really. It just brings your bag back up. If you're on a negative swing, it's going to really haunt you. So I'm starting to use, I've used these in the past. I've used these on my personal bots many, many times. I was just using Anderson to help me crank through these bags on Defender, and it actually worked really well for a while until I got caught in one bag, and I'm kind of changing up the strategy a little bit. So I'm going stochastic, RSI, low BB, and these are all pretty conservative. But the way I like to look at it is when you're in waiting for buy. So we can just start one of these. We can start, say, ADA, and this is the new GUI. We can see this. Let's go back to Profit Trailer real quick. You can see that Profit Trailer is holding this price. This is the calculated weighted average that PTDefender is calculating for you. What I read on their GitHub sort of issues thing. It says that they take into account fees to just, be a little bit more cautious just in case, which, makes sense. But you can override the price. If you click override, it will give you the same price that is displayed in PT. So I'll just use that one. I'll click defend. When I do click defend, it's going to shove some into a pending. It's going to leave some back. And this is where we go into a waiting for buy scenario. And so my thought is, before I was using Anderson and it was just buying immediately at -1%. Well, now it's going to wait to buy at a good opportunity. And then this bag will become, -0.5. So this is actually really powerful. And I actually didn't think about this much when I was using Anderson. I should have just been using very conservative DCA buying strategies and buying at a really opportune time, right when that pump may be happening. So if you look at, like we were looking at ADA before, something like this, buying right here and then having it pump up 5-6%, you're going to cycle through bags really nicely. You may have to wait in between buys because they're not happening. If you look at this, from the first time the buying signal went off to the next time was about 24 hours. So you may be waiting, but you're getting in a good opportunity, and you may be waiting till right here and boom, you're in a 5% trade. And I can wait a day for a 5% trade and cycle through a bag like that. So that is great. And if you think about it, if you're not using Defender and you're waiting from this price action to this price action, like it's the same. Like the ADA's price from here to here is almost identical, right? So the funny thing is you're not taking advantage of anything, really, just holding your bag. But if you use Defender and it rebuys right here and then it sells off, I don't know what just happened. Oh God. And it sells off, say up in here, then you're making a 3% profit off that trade. And then Defender will go into round 2. And then you just have to wait another, couple hours. Let's see how long between these ones, 6 hours. And you make another trade and then you go into round 3 or whatever, right? Because if you buy right here, look at that. You're going to make, we just call it that, 3.8%, something in that range, depending on the order book and the volume and all that stuff. So that's why this is so powerful. And when you're in the waiting for buy stage, it is important to get a good buy, because before I was just buying, immediately right here, and then you end up in another bag. And so now we're having very sound buying strategies. ADA, the stochastic and RSI are true, but the low BB is not true. So we're not going to buy. We're going to wait for a good buy. This PT Defender will bring us up to a nice healthy bag value of, -0.5%. And then guess what? When we look at this, when it does buy again, say that was happening right here, then that 0.5% is going to be able to pump really hard up to 4% or so. And hopefully get us out of that initial round 1 buy and sell. So that's why I think this is powerful. This is pretty cool. And the way I'm doing it is I want it to continue to buy and sell every time. The trigger will be at -1 every time. It's just the way I want to do it. It'll keep me closer to 0 that way. So that's the way I'm going to do it. We'll kind of continue on. I'm taking too long, rambling. These are all the overrides. I'm kind of doing the same thing in the bear market using low BB, RSI, stochastic. The one thing I want to get to, you can kind of read through all this yourself, but what I want to get to is the EMA gain and the EMA cross for my bullish market override. This is really, really important. This is going to be super powerful. What we can do is we can go into, I think it's this one, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So in a bull market, I want to use EMA gain and EMA cross. And the reason for that is I want to take part in these massive pumps. And you can see, look at this pump right here of whatever it is from the bottom to top in a 30-minute candle. You're dealing with a 10.5% gain, and you're seeing super impulsive candles. And guess what? If you're using EMA gain in the negative direction, you're never going to get a buy on these situations. Same with low BB. You're never going to get a buy. So I will describe exactly what I'm talking about on how this works. So I'll kind of describe with this EMA gain and EMA cross, kind of why I'm using these positive numbers, which might be, quite contradictory to most people. So if you look at what is going on in some of these cases, normally what you're going to do is you're going to use the EMA gain, and then you're going to set the buy value to -1. And what that means is, if you're familiar with EMA gain, which you should be if you're using it, don't be blindly using random settings that you don't understand. But it means that below the lowest of the two EMA lines, -1% below that line is where you would buy. So you would be looking for a buy right about in that area, right down there. But as you can see, before this pump, that never happened. So what do you do in that situation? You just never get to partake in literally all of these gains, which is a 5%. If you go to the next candle, almost 6% gain that you are never going to partake in. So my sort of thought and outlook on this, the same thing is happening over here, which is an even bigger pump. You probably would never buy in these situations either. -0.38, -1 is just very common. So what I'm seeing here is I'm seeing a buying opportunity right here. And look at that. Over the course of an hour, it increased 10%. And that is really, really big money that you're talking about if you can partake in these giant pumps. Okay, so that's kind of my thought. Please give me your thoughts in the comments below on maybe how to hone this in a little bit more, get even more juice out of this. But the idea here is to use the EMA cross to give us the idea when the fast EMA line is moving over the slow EMA line, and then use the EMA gain to kind of give us a better, buying strategy to say, listen, this thing is over 0.8% over the lowest of the two EMA lines. It seems like this coin is pumping hard. And so, there are definitely many other coin specific strategies you can use and that I'm testing currently in my other bots. But this is just a very basic way to try and catch these big pumps. And so I wanted to kind of bring that to light for everybody, because say you're in a bullish market and you're using Defender and you click start on QLC and the small piece of this coin gets left in the dust log. So what Defender is going to do is use your regular buying strategies to buy this coin. So what PT will do is it's going to use these strategies. And guess what? What could happen is if it's in the dust log, it's going to use your regular strategies. And even with DCA, I wanted to change my DCA strategies, which I actually did change these. These should be DCA A buy strategy. So I actually already did change these. So you'll need to go down and look at this. But what could happen is either QLC ends up in dust or DCA, and then PT rebuys, and it rebuys on one of these massive pumps. That is extremely good news for you, because not only if you're using, whatever the settings are, the max rebuy percentage of 100, you may make 5 to 10% on your round one coin purchase, because you're buying in at a very opportune time, getting rid of that bag, making 5, 10%. Like in this case, you're making a ton of cheddar, almost 10%, depending on order book, depending on where PT sells, et cetera, et cetera. But this is really, really powerful to give PT the opportunity to buying on these massive upswings. And you can see where it's buying. Generally speaking, you can see where this blue and the green overlap is where it would buy. So you can see that there's definitely been some really good buying opportunities, and you would have made a good amount of money if you would have bought in those situations. So that is kind of my outlook. And then you can get through round one, round two with, kind of out scot-free. Like you can make with pumps like this in a bullish market, and you're sitting on these big bags, you may have bought, you may have originally purchased ADA. Geez, look at what is going on here. You may have originally purchased ADA way up here, and you're sitting at a negative 20% bag. But if you look down in this region or this range, you could end up purchasing right in here and riding up this wave, you know, same within here. If you were just holding that bag, these little spikes, these big bullish spikes, they don't bring you back very much. So this is where you started. Let's see, if you bought right here, you're just holding your bag. I mean, you're only going to get back, you know, 8 to 10%. You're still going to be sitting in a negative 10% bag. So that's kind of why I think this is super powerful, is kind of play the market to your advantage. Use these big green candles and try and ride the wave, and then let profit trailers, you know, trailing buy and trailing profit, you know, do the rest for you, especially the trailing profit. Once it starts to dip, you know, let profit trailers sell it. So with your trailing profit settings, that's really important. I guess one last thing I could go over to make this the full video is explain what happened here with Dash. And I actually forgot if I explained this to you guys already, but I'm going to explain it again. Basically what happened is I'm sitting in a really big bag of Dash because my previous settings were set up in a manner where they were too aggressive. I ended up buying on one of these upswings here, probably with the RSI and all the stuff that I was just kind of messing around because I wanted to cycle through these bags very quick. And so I wanted to get to round 3, 4, 5, 6 as fast as possible without really taking into account good buying opportunities. And so, like I said, when I'm sitting here, I'm looking at this bag of Dash. It's in waiting for sell, which means that Dash is literally or PTDefender is just waiting for profit trailer to sell it. Problem is it's at negative 11.78% because when profit trailer and PTDefender rebought this coin, it bought it in a really bad spot. And, you know, that's no one's fault but my own, is my profit trailer settings. I had them way too aggressive, buying in a, you know, kind of a shit spot up here. So, that's kind of where we're looking at on that. And I'm literally just waiting for sell, and it's probably going to be waiting for sell for a while if you look at that negative 11%. So what I'm going to do is probably stop it, restart it, let it go again, you know, get some balance back. I need some more balance on this test bot, and, you know, we'll let it go. But I'm going to run these new settings for a couple days, and then I'll give you guys an update with, you know, PTDefender and give you guys, you know, recovered amounts, give you guys the rounds. I'll just walk through it live like this, and I'll kind of show you what these settings are doing, and we'll kind of go from there. So I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments. Please join the Discord if you haven't done so already, because we are constantly talking about all of this stuff, you know, not even just bot trading. We're talking about the whole market in general. So join the Discord. It's a fun spot. The moderators are just great. So appreciate all you guys for all your help in there, and I'll catch you all in the next video. I'll probably be doing a market update video on Sunday morning. So I will catch you all in the next one. Take it easy.